Traveling the Vortex.
We've joined the Doctor as he travels the vortex and arrive at episode number 311. Merry Christmas to everyone. I'm Keith.
I'm Sean.
I'm Glenn.
How are you guys?
I'm good.
I don't know why I did it that way, but that's what I did.
Happy New Year's, guys.
Happy New Year's.
I guess it's Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
You drop the S once you're wishing somebody a new year. I was reading all about that this week.
There's etiquette.
Yep, apparently so.
Just like it's
when have we ever
saving
been?
time, not savings time.
Yeah, when have we ever been into etiquette stuff?
Can I say Happy's New Year?
Happy's New Year.
Happy's
Yes,
New
that's
Year. Or
perfectly
Merry New Year.
acceptable. That is
Happy
perfectly
News
acceptable.
Year?
Happy News Year.
No, because it's talking about news.
And we come here to forget about news.
Unless you're wishing someone a year full of happy news.
Well, maybe we should be wishing people a Happy
Yeah,
News
that's
Year because we had a bad news year last
Glenn,
year. So.
I would very much like for you to have a Happy News Year.
Oh, thank you, Sean.
You're welcome.
Keith, I would like for you to have a Happy News Year.
Thank you, Glenn. Sean, I would like for you to have a happy news year.
Thank you, Keith.
Ah, how nice.
Very nice.
We started a new tradition.
We'll see if we remember it next year.
Probably not.
Did you guys have a good
I was about to say, what do we do now? I'm so lost. I don't even know what we do at this point in the show. I had a nice New Year's.
What'd you do?
This was the first year, working in news, this is the first year that I've had New Year's Eve and New Year's Day off. And so I told Holly, I said, by gum, we're going to do something. I don't care what it is. So I called my mom and said, can you watch the kids overnight? First thing we did, so we had talked about doing a hotel room somewhere, but we just waited so long because it wasn't certain that we were going to be off. I waited too long and everything was booked. But I thought, we're still going to go out and do something. So the first thing we did, we dropped the kids off at the folks. We went and saw Moana. I did what you did last week. Moana. Disney's Moana.
Or Mona, as some people have pronounced it.
Mona.
Did you take the kids to that, or
No,
did you drop them off and then
we
went
dropped
to your son?
the kids see so many Disney movies without us. We went, you know what? We're going to go see that without them. Which is a delightful film. It's so charming, lots of fun. It's got great music. I'm going to run out and buy the soundtrack now. I don't know if I would rank it as like the best Disney movie, but it was so enjoyable and so much fun. Very much in the style of the the era of the musical ones that I like a lot. I think Frozen and Tangled have kind of reinvigorated that,
Yeah.
but this was right along those lines. And so after that, we went and Holly and we absolutely love Mexican food, and there's a new Mexican restaurant here called El Gallo.
Where's that at?
You know where Cece's was on Topeka Boulevard?
Oh, yeah.
And we went there and had dinner afterwards, and
It's not exactly new.
they actually used to be Los Fuentes down
Across
the street. Yeah.
'Cause we actually went before Christmas with my
tried to go to
sister.
Los Fuentes?
Yeah, because my sister loved that place. And so she asked, well, why the name change? It's a corporation with a chain, and they are branching off. But the menu's still the same. I don't know if you noticed.
Well, it seems a little more fancy. Like it's a little more done up than it was at Los Fuentes, I thought. I thought. And it was good. It wasn't, again, if I'm going to rank it, which I hate to do, it wouldn't be in my top 5. But we enjoyed it. It was good.
It wasn't bad.
One of the traditions we have every year with the kids is we go get a pie, and we all have New Year's Eve pie. We have a pie. And we were getting ready we left the restaurant, and Holly said, yeah, we're not going to do pie this year. And I thought, yeah, we are. So we went to Denny's, and we each had a slice of pie at Denny's. And then after that, we went up to the casino. Prairie Bend Casino was doing New Year's celebration. It was mostly, everybody sitting around gambling, but they had a countdown at midnight. They had drawings every half hour for cash prizes. We didn't win. And then they had this gorgeous ice sculpture in the foyer. I don't know if you guys saw my pictures. It was carved out, 2017, Happy New Year. So we pretty much found some. It was crowded as heck, but we found some slot machines, and we just kind of played slots for a couple hours, penny slots, Each took $20. Never went under the $20. I actually was up 30 at one point. Holly was up 20 at one point. Of course, we just kept, we went there to spend, and if we were going to hit it big on $20 or we weren't. So counted down to midnight and celebrated with everybody there at the casino, and then we went home, headed home, and had the rest of the night in. I mean, we were probably not home till about 1:30 or so.
Oh, yeah. It's at least a half hour.
It was fun. It was nice to get out and do something, go somewhere where there's people. I don't get to do that much, but yeah, we had a grand time. And then the kids were at my parents' house, and they celebrated. They stayed up till midnight, and we had taken some champagne popper fireworks over there and sparklers, and so they did that. So they still had a festive, fun New Year's. The same thing they would have done at home with us. They just happened to do it with Grandma and Papa. So
what'd you do?
Stayed home. Sarah was in bed by 10:30. Maybe 10:45.
Happy New Year.
Yeah. So I watched Arq. ARQ.
Oh, the Netflix show.
Netflix movie. It was really good. It's in the vein of Edge of Tomorrow and Source Code.
Ooh.
But so it kind of drops you into this otherworldly sci-fi universe kind of thing, where you're kind of lost of what's kind of going on, other than they get right to the looping right away. And so eventually you stop worrying about what's going on outside this house, because it's all pretty much inside one house the entire time. And so you just get so sucked into it that I highly recommend it.
It's a movie or a series?
It's a movie.
It's a movie.
It's got Robbie Amell and Trish from Jessica Jones is the other lead in it. I can't recommend it enough. It's really well done. I
have it in my queue.
It was written and directed by a guy who worked on Orphan Black. He was like a script editor and a producer on it. So I guess he left to go do this movie. So, but come midnight, it was good we were home because there were lots of fireworks. So I put the Thunder shirt on Cody and went and woke up Cody and gave her a kiss, and Cody then stayed in bed.
You woke up Cody and gave her a kiss?
Woke up Sarah and gave her a kiss.
All right.
Cody gave me kisses too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's pretty chill. What'd you do, Sean?
Well, we actually, Patrick came over earlier in the day to pick up the stuff that he'd left from the previous night when we had our Clontarf Christmas get-together. And he had left some games and some drinking supplies and things over here, and he came to pick them up and stayed. just never made it back out of the house. And Corey and Julian showed up after he got off work, and we wound up playing some Ticket to Ride, which I love. That's the coolest game ever. It's the one with the railroads and building the routes and everything. And then we played another one called Betrayal on the Haunted Hill House, or I don't know. It's Betrayal something.
Betrayal on House on Haunted Hill?
That could be it. I don't think
there's a movie called House on Haunted Hill.
That's why I don't think that's it. It's Betrayal on the House, or Betrayal in the House on the Hill, or something of that effect. But you go through the thing, and as you walk into a room, you flip. There's 4 levels to this house, and the cards are all based on level. So then you shuffle up the cards, and then you walk in, and you go, okay, I'm on the main floor. So you have to find a main floor room, and you flip it over, and you don't know what it is until you get it flipped over, or how you're going to orientate it. So you kind of build the house as you explore it.
All right.
Oh, that's cool.
And then different houses have different event, item, or I forget what the other one is, triggers that you have to read these other cards that cause these different effects to happen. And the big one is the haunt, because you're kind of building up, as you're exploring this spooky, creepy house, you're building up to this haunt event. And you don't want the haunt, because bad things are going to happen. And so for, you have to roll to determine whether or not you triggered the haunt on this roll or not, and you kind of keep going around. We finally got up to the point where we did trigger it, and it reveals the betrayer, because it's betrayal at the house of wherever. So one of the characters that you're playing turns against the group. Ooh. Well, in this case, it was Corey. So she got a special rule book, and we looked it up. Okay, you're in this room at this time, so you go. We're going to do haunt number 71. So she goes off to read her instructions for number 71, and the rest of us get together to read our instructions for haunt 71. Now, normally, as this works, the betrayer is the one that is then in charge of demons or whatever that's going to try and kill everybody before you can get out of the house. And you have a specific set of rules to stop them. In this particular scenario, it turns out it's our house, and we are all dead.
Ooh.
We're all ghosts, except for Corey.
Ooh.
So we're trying to get her, and she's trying to exercise the rest of us from the house.
So she thinks she's going to be the bad guy. Turns out she's really the good
Yeah,
guy,
and
and
it
you're
was-
all the bad guys.
Now, having said that, it was a cool twist. We were like, ooh, all right, cool. The rules kind of sucked for this particular haunt. I've played this game once before, and I've seen it played, and it flowed much better that way than it did this way. And I don't know if she looked it up online and said there were a bunch of confusion too. So maybe it's just poorly worded with how the things are supposed to work. But it's supposed to be about an hour-long game, and I think we played that thing till about 4 in the morning. So it was very much that there's that gamers meme where it's gaming, Happy New Year, back to gaming. That's kind of what we wound up doing. It was like, hey, it's New Year's. Okay, Happy New Year, everybody.
That's what we did.
Back to the thing. So
You're
Slot machine, slot machine, slot machine. Happy New Year, kiss. Slot machine, slot machine.
kind of along the same lines. But, it was just kind of low-key. If I'd have known you weren't doing anything, you certainly could have come over.
Yeah, that's all right, though.
But
Otherwise, Cody would have been disturbed by all the fireworks.
that's true.
And,
Yeah, there was a lot of fireworks going off at midnight.
although I suppose I could have brought Cody over here.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I don't know how he would have got along with Captain.
That's Captain's problem.
But yeah, probably.
That's Captain's problem.
Although,
I like Cody better than I I could have set out some chicken for him.
oh, he would have loved that. I'm sure he would have found some food to get into.
But, it was just kind of a low-key, fun. But we had a good time. And, of course, I had to go to bed and get up this morning and work, which sucked. But, yeah, it's a good time.
Let's move on to feedback.
How about some news first?
Gosh darn it.
Or should we do our special thing
Let's
first?
do feedback today.
Okay, feedback.
Let's do feedback since
Feedback.
it's
Just save me.
just
Mix it up.
just
Something
to be
new
different.
for the new year.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Feedback.
Feedback comes from Ben. He writes, feedback alert, he's alive! Hey guys, it's been some time since I last assaulted you with my meanderings. Feedback in general has been slow. Come on, people, we'll write in already. Anyhow,
Yeah.
there's been some stuff going on here, so here we go. First, I caught whatever stomach bug is going around the day after Christmas, so I
no.
just listened to last week's show today, Friday. I'm happy to hear that for once my assessment of Doctor Who isn't an isolated opinion. It's not secret. I haven't liked Moffat's direction or writing of Who's since taking over the showrunner position. I loved his stories under RTD, though. Having said that, I tried to go into each story with an open mind. Prior to the Christmas special, I had read Bad Wolf's opinion on the matter. It wound up being very close to my own. I am glad I chose to DVR it and go see Sing in the theater with the family. Sing was pretty good, but not great, by the way. As to the Christmas special, while I didn't outright hate it, I would have been okay not seeing it either. Andy had the same opinion of it as all of us, so
Yeah.
we're not alone, Ben.
James had the same opinion, too. He told me today that he watched it and was kind of like, it was just kind of a poor story. And I'm like, yeah, it really kind of was.
Moving on, my Who haul this Christmas was limited to the 4th Doctor figure from Pyramids of Mars that includes the time control panel and sonic screwdriver.
Ooh, cool.
In reading, I am currently pursuing Catalyst by James Luceno. It's the prequel novel to Rogue One. It provides a lot of setup for the movie, which was outstanding, but isn't terribly exciting. By that I mean there isn't a lot of action. It's a lot of setup and backstory. I'm also reading George Lucas' A Life, which I have put on pause for the moment. Once done with Catalyst, I intend to pick that back up. And today's mail, however, was Mind of Stone, the newest Lethbridge Stewart gem from Candy Jar Books. Further complicating my next book dilemma is the fact that I picked up The Princess Diarist by Carrie Fisher just 2 days before her heart attack.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
Given her subsequent passing, I may take that on next.
James, those are all things, or Ben, those are all things that I think I have on my to-read list.
I got Catalyst for Christmas. I look forward to reading that one. Lastly, I did something new today. I used an Amazon gift card to purchase items there. Of course, I used the portal on your site to access Amazon. I'm hoping you guys will still get a portion of the sales despite the gift card being used. Also, I love that you added lids to your sponsor area, or to your sponsor ads. I purchased a couple of World Series Champions hats from them, again using your site's portal. Go Cubs! I also purchased some Christmas gifts from the Think Geek using you guys. Lastly, I have to tell my wife you guys have torrid as well now. She loves that place. It's nice to be able to get what we want and need and help you guys at the same time. That's all for now. Hope you guys have a safe and happy new year. Take care. Time Lord Ben. P.S. The bit about people writing in feedback was meant tongue-in-cheek, not to be taken seriously. Also, I chose Mind of Stone as my next book after Catalyst. It will be my first book of 2017.
Hey.
Yay.
Well,
Thanks,
thank you
Ben.
very much, Ben.
Good to hear from you.
And a happy news year to you, Ben.
You, of course, can send us feedback by going to our website, travelingthevortex.com, and fill out the Send Us Feedback tab. You can send it to feedback@travelingthevortex.com, or you can do as Ben did and DM it to our Twitter accounts @TravelVortex.
And as Ben did with his Who Haul, we're wanting to hear your Who Haul from Christmas. So if you want to send some feedback and let us know what you got that was Who-related items, we'd love to hear those. Now, should we move on to news?
Let's move on to news.
Got one right.
There really isn't any news.
No news!
But we thought we'd take this time to let you know what the January Goodreads Book Club book is, which is The Legends of River Song. That anthology book that came out last year, I believe. So that's January's book. There's already a forum up for you to take part in. So once you read it, or as you read, go comment away.
I think that came out around the same time or right after when Legends of Shielder came out.
Yeah, I think it was a little after.
And, of course, a reminder, if you're not already a member of the Goodreads Book Club, you should go sign up.
Yep.
Yeah.
You can sign up for Goodreads if you're not already on there, and when you do, just look for the Traveling the Vortex Doctor Who Book Club.
And if you join the group, please send us all friend requests.
Yeah. We want to know that you're reading.
Have you guys done your challenge for this year?
I completed it.
I completed mine.
Thanks to this.
I think I ended up at 42 out of the 40. I think. The last time I looked, I think it was 42. Maybe 43 of the 40. So
I think I was at 66 of 65.
I'm going to have to step it up this year.
Since
Which I seem to have made it every year so far.
Since I counted Havoc files into them, I had to go and strip away some of the duplicate short
Oh.
stories. So
Yeah, good call.
luckily, 12 Doctors of Christmas
Put
me at 30.
At 30.
Exactly.
Good.
I might have to bump it up next year, too.
I put mine at 60 to start with.
No, you didn't. You
What?
put yours at 40 to start with, and then you bumped it to 60. Because you and I
No,
were
for
neck and
2017.
neck. Oh, for 2017. I thought
For
you were
2017.
this year. I was like, no, you didn't. It was 40, and then I saw you bump it to
No, because
60.
yours was 40, right?
Uh-huh.
And I did 41.
Oh, that's right. You did do 41, yeah.
Because I got to be
I might just go up to 35.
I
not gonna
did
be too
30
ambitious.
the last year. This year, I did 40. I think next year I'm going to shoot for 50.
Although
I think I'm going
if-
to go
so-
increments of 10 each year.
I've started reading the 5th Harry Potter book, and of course I'm still in the middle of Clash of Kings. If I finish that in 2017, does it count towards the 2017 total?
That's how I read it.
I finished it in 2017. I see what you did
Yeah,
there.
I don't know.
I think I counted the Dawn of the Planet of the Apes prequel
I
that I
think if
started
you-
in 2015 as
I
part
think
of
if you
2016.
read the bulk of it in that year, it counts for that year.
how many pages are you in?
I'm not a bulk of Harry Potter. I'm not sure about Clash of Kings.
I think whichever one you finish the bulk of it in. I guess you're not counting it for the last year, so you might as well count it for this year.
Exactly.
You
That's
didn't
kinda
count it
what
for
I
this
was
year,
thinking.
so you might as well count it for last year. I
don't
think
know.
it goes either way.
Somebody took umbrage to me counting books last year for the current year total when it was obviously a 2015 book. It's like, I know, I fixed
Oh, I
it.
did, yeah, I did. But that was a 2015
But
book.
it was a 2015 book. I just
You
didn't
did
log
read
it
that
until
one, too.
2016.
Yeah.
In fact, I logged a whole bunch of stuff today, and I had to keep rolling the date back to last year to make sure that it counted.
it wouldn't keep
'Cause it was
adding
all
to the-
stuff that I legitimately finished last
Right,
year. I just
right.
didn't log it until today.
We'd start adding it to this year.
Look at me, I got a 10-book head start. No, you don't.
Well, you want to explain what we're going to do?
Well, we're going to do something a little special this year for our Traveling the Vortex, a very merry Traveling the Vortex Christmas special. What we did is, as most people know, 2016 was kind of a rough year. In fact, we're all seeing it off in style because there were some good things in 2016, but there were also some bad things. So what we're going to do is we got all the good things and bad things that we could think of that happened in 2016, and we've put them in this TARDIS, and we're going to open it up. We're going to pull a sheet of paper out of it with what is on it. We're going to read what's on the paper, and then we're going to decide whether it was a good thing and we should keep it, or a bad thing and we should just do away with it. We're going to do away with it in a special fashion here. So,
Yep, I can't do that.
you want to light our our
Sean's
candle.
gonna light our candle.
Fire.
I can hold the candle for you, though.
Where's the candle? Oh. Ready?
This is compelling audio.
It is compelling audio. Oh, it's a great sounding audio, too.
Sean has forgotten how to light matches.
Keith gave me a dud.
I think you used the wrong end.
That end. It's the side with the sulfur on it.
It didn't light.
No, you were doing the side without the sulfur.
Well, let's see if we can set off the smoke alarm.
Yeah, no kidding.
And get the fire department called here.
If we could even light this. There we go. All right.
Ooh.
All right, so I have drawn out our first one.
I don't think there's any sulfur on that one.
This is for our...
I think you had the wrong end, Sean.
I think I had the wrong
You
end.
definitely did. This is for our British listeners especially. This was
rats, it worked.
Brexit this year. As everybody knows, the UK left the... what are you doing, Sean?
Oof, I bumped the mic. Let me switch hands.
Give me the...
Okay, just don't worry about it. It's going to be destroyed anyway. So.
Well, that's why I didn't want to create a bigger fire than we already have going on here.
Let's put it on cables. All right, there you go.
Britain left the European Union this year, so I think that's a bad thing. We should say goodbye to that properly. What do you think?
Be gone, Brexit.
Be gone, Brexit. Be gone. All right. Keith, you want to do one?
Yeah. All right. Hold on, let me switch to... Okay, this one. Meeting Jeremy Bullock.
Oh, that's a good one.
That is a good one. We're not going to burn this.
We're not going to burn
At
that.
Planet
meeting.
Comic-Con this year, we got to meet Jeremy Bullock. We got to sit on stage and interview him and talk with him, and that was a blast, a lot of fun. So
such
set
a
that
nice
in a good
guy.
pile there, Keith.
Good pile right there.
Reaching into the magic TARDIS and pulling out
Magic TARDIS?
Pokemon Go.
Pokemon Go.
Is this a good
Depends
thing
on how
or a
you feel
bad
about
thing?
So
Pokemon Go.
I think Pokemon Go in all is a good thing because it got a lot of people motivated. It's a fun game for one thing. It got a lot of people motivated and out there exercising, walking. It kind of did what its purpose was: engaging, have fun, get people out and about, looking at landmarks and things like that, getting some exercise. It did have some negative effects. We did have people that were driving and crashing into people. We had the couple in Toronto, I think, that broke into the zoo to get to a Pokestop. But I think overall, Pokemon Go is a good thing.
I'm going to agree. I'm going to say that it did more good than bad. And if nothing else, in our experience, being able to go out to the park at 11:30 at night and just see swarms of people roaming around, and there was a real sense of community.
Yeah,
kind of
I
built
think
up
so.
over
Yeah,
that,
I would
so
agree.
which I think we needed. So
Even
I think
though
it's a
I'm
good
not a
thing.
fan of it, I would agree.
All right, put it in the
Where's
good
the good
pile.
There's the good pile.
All right. Batman versus Superman.
Burn it.
Burn
I'm
it.
not even going to do Everybody knows our feelings on Batman versus Superman. I'm the only one that's burnt anything so far.
Well, it's because you're a little black rain cloud.
Apparently so, yeah.
Oh,
the grumpy
and
guy.
here's mine.
You got two? Oh.
I got one. Planet Comic-Con from last year.
Yay!
That was a great thing.
Planet
That was a
Comic
good
Con was a
thing.
good thing. If it hadn't been for Planet Comic Con, we would have met Jeremy
Jeremy
Bullock too.
Bullock.
But it was a good year for Planet Comic Con.
It was a really good year.
Fantastic job they do out there. We're looking forward to this year.
Big Finish.
Ooh, Big
They
Finish.
have
You know what?
Carried the torch.
They have. We put that one in there because there's no one thing you can look at Big Finish and say this was great. This was great. It was all great. They've been carrying the torch, as Keith said,
Since we've had no Who.
yeah, going right along, and it's been terrific. So we certainly appreciate that.
So that's a good thing.
Good thing, yay! Good thing in 2016. We think of a lot of good things, guys. This is maybe this year wasn't as bad as we thought it was. Cubs win the series.
That
was a good thing, definitely. Ben will be happy with that one. We are putting that in the good pile. They hadn't won the series in over 100 years before
Pretty
they won.
impressive.
So,
As a diehard Royals fan, even I can say, go Cubbies.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that the Cubbies kind of became America's team. I know we've got some probably Indians fans out there that are going to disagree, but I think the Cubbies, the majority of the United States especially rallied behind the Cubbies because it was such a historic win. Would have been a historic win for the Cleveland Indians as well, but I think the Cubs, they had a longer dry stretch, so I think it's very well deserving.
The one I just pulled was SpaceX.
SpaceX had some ups and downs this year.
Yeah, it's kind of a little bit of both
Yeah.
for this one. They were very successful, but also had some explosions.
Yeah, they had some pad launches that went bad. They did have one that went up, came down, and landed, and was successful. The big one was this year, and then they
landed on that barge this year. Didn't they? On the moving target.
Yeah,
that's impressive. And a vertical, no less.
Yep.
Yeah.
So let's put that.
Let's put that in the good pile.
SpaceX
is.
It's moving us back out into space, which is a good thing because we haven't been out there for a long time. So.
Oh. Kelly Beaver dies.
Oh,
that is
good friend of ours, one of the Planet Comic Con organizers, put together a lot of great things. Volunteers, she was always in charge of putting together the volunteers, and she's sorely missed this year. She's
very, very sorely missed.
Very sad.
That's a burn. We're just gonna. That one made me sad.
That'll work. You might have put the candle out though.
That's okay. He can light another match, maybe.
We need a good one. Oh, this was a tough one too. Another Star Wars alum passed away this year. Kenny Baker, who played R2-D2. Oh no! Now we've got to put Sean in charge of lighting the match again.
We'll see if this can go.
Use the right end this time.
I like that sound. The eternal flame is lit again.
Kenny, you will be missed.
R.I.P. Kenny.
Keep going. Exploding cell phones. This was a year for, was it the Nokia? No,
Samsung.
Galaxy Note 7, wasn't it? That one deserves that.
Burn
saying
the
goodbye.
Cell phones.
Saying goodbye to the exploding cell phones.
And it didn't happen to any of us. That should probably be noted.
Yes.
None of us were victims of that.
Despite having a Samsung phone.
But you don't have a Galaxy Note 7, right?
No.
And you don't have a Galaxy Note 7, so...
That's too rich for my blood.
Yeah. This one is the 2016 presidential campaign and election.
Burn it. Because even if your candidate won, you have to admit, this year's campaign season, we want to put it behind us. Definitely put it behind us.
Burn, baby, burn. That's really loud on the...
Don't worry, Merlin. That's the last politic one's in the pile. He said, no politics, please. Had enough.
We could have gone through a lot of stuff politically, but we decided that just kind of covered it all.
What does that say, Glenn?
That's a good question. Africa, free of Ebola.
That's a good thing.
Finally got out of the Ebola virus. We had the Ebola plague that was going on in East Africa, especially. It's finally been eradicated in Africa this year, so
I didn't know this.
Hopefully it will not return. But
that's a good thing.
It
then
is gone. It's under control, we should say. So, all right, here we go. Oh, I got two.
Oh,
all right, we've got. Juno to Jupiter. We had some comments on this amongst the three of us because Juno made it to Jupiter, but they did have some issues where it went into safe mode and then they couldn't get any data back. Is that correct?
I think they finally got it out of safe mode.
They did.
My understanding.
So it's a good thing then for 2016.
It is a good thing.
So we're going to set that in the good pile. See, there's a lot more.
Nice
2016.
Good pile so far. TopCon.
Yay, we loved TopCon. We're going to end up with all the bad stuff
at the very
end. That's all right. We're saying goodbye to it. We're sending it off.
Ice Bucket Challenge leads to a breakthrough.
That's right.
That is good.
That's a good thing for the ALS.
We were a part of a couple of years ago and solicited donations for ALS, and they actually used that money and made a breakthrough this year. So that's
into the big
good
pile.
thing. Good pile. We got to meet Annika Wills, who played Polly.
She was so wonderful.
Doctor Who, and she was such a wonderful woman. We met her at Time 82. We're going to put that in the good pile.
ISIS
in the burn pile.
Burn that.
Go away. We don't want any more of ISIS. So many shootings and ISIS-related terrorism things this year, and hopefully we can be free of that in 2017.
No Who. Burn it.
Burn it.
No Who in 2016.
I don't like waiting a year.
With the exception of the 20th, the Christmas special. Our friends at Titan Comics put out some great content this year, 2016.
Yes.
We're going to keep that.
That's a good one.
2016. I'll hold it this time.
And thank you, Titan Comics, for continuing to do good work.
Gene Wilder passing.
Oh, Gene Wilder passing.
Not a good thing at all.
Willy Wonka, we're going to miss you.
Our listeners.
Yay! We had some terrific listeners in 2016, and we want to put those in the safe pile. That's something we want to hold over for 2017 as well. We want to continue to have our great listeners, and thank you guys for listening.
Absolutely.
Yes.
All right. We got to meet Peter Davison this year, who is the Fifth Doctor, Doctor Who, and that goes in the save pile because that is another memory that I will There's certain things in 2016 that I want to hold dear and remember, and that was one of the good
That is going to
things.
be one of the
Again,
highlights.
we want to thank the folks at Time Eddie, too, for allowing us to be able to do that.
Absolutely. Alan Rickman passing.
That one.
Ooh.
We'll put that behind us. R.I.P. Alan. We've got another one that was really, really striking is Carrie Fisher, who was then in turn followed by her mother, Debbie Reynolds, a day after. So R.I.P. Debbie and Carrie.
Rogue One.
Yay!
Yeah,
that's a good
Rogue
thing.
One.
Put that in the save pile.
All right.
Spencer Wilding.
Yeah, we got to meet Spencer Wilding at
Mr. Darth
TopCon
Vader.
this year.
Speaking of Rogue One,
We're going to thank TopCon for putting on such a great program this year. We had several species that came off the endangered species list this year, so that was a good thing.
That's really good.
Whales, pandas, turtles, there was a bunch of them that
Yeah.
came off this year. Now, they're still in the, what's the term?
There's threatened, and
Threatened.
there's several different
So they're not. It's not that they're
variations
out of the woods yet. It's still important that we keep an eye, but they're no longer on that top
They're just not
endangered species level. So,
the Disney Gator attack.
ooh yeah, that was
That's a.
we
I'm
want to
burn
put that
that
one
one.
behind us. Hopefully that won't ever happen again.
David Bowie passing.
Ugh. Burn that.
Oh, the Orlando shooting. That was a
Burn
big one.
that.
Put that one out.
Harambe shot.
Oh, he was the
That's
gorilla.
like a gorilla. Yeah.
I think we're going to burn that one.
We're going to burn that one. Put that one behind us.
Luckily, we end on a happy note.
Yay!
Candy Jar Books.
Candy Jar Books, our friends
friends
at
at
Candy
Candy
Jar
Jar.
Books, who's doing the Lethbridge Stewart line. They've continued. They started 2 years ago. They've continued through 2016, and they continue to put out great product into the new year, 2017. So,
And look for our review of Blood of Atlantis next week on the podcast.
Yes.
Merlin adds to the pile John Glenn. Sad
John
days
Glenn,
indeed.
yeah, sad. That would be a burn. All right, we've put 2016 behind us. Here's for a joyous and prosperous 2017.
Yes, absolutely.
May you have a happy news year.
All right, well, let's move on to our reviews. We have a few. Let's do Power of the Daleks, because we've put these episodes off for weeks now.
So it's the end.
We're
5
doing
and 6.
5 and 6, which is the grand finale. And 5...
It's the end, but the moment has been prepared.
5 is where it really starts to ramp up, and that's where I really start to really enjoy it. I think several weeks ago I talked about how 4 was exciting, and you finally kind of got somewhere. 5
and you
really
get the
keeps
tail end
that,
of that continuing.
5 keeps that momentum going, and I think 6 is the best, except for I think that the thing that bothers me, and now that I see it, it's even probably better than it was, but when I listened to this and the audio reconstruction, the scientist guy that we keep calling Niter because he looks like Niter with the specs. Every day I watch that and I go, I can remember that guy's name, and then I come here and was it Jameson?
I don't remember either.
Anyway, the guy goes cuckoo, and
he just really goes off the deep end.
when you're listening to it in audio, it's this quick turnaround transition,
See,
and it's
I
it's
still
hard to
thought that
follow.
while watching it too.
I agree, but now watching the visuals of it, I think it puts it together and it makes it work better.
Knowing that he's present for certain things.
Yeah,
that you
exactly,
probably
and
didn't know,
he because he observes
It
what's
just
going
felt
on.
Like he flip flops so often, and
well,
so quickly.
and it was just like boom, he turns on it. He just goes crazy there in a dime.
Yeah.
The other thing I noticed this time is the guy that's taking over, and I understand he's been kind of doing some machinations behind the scenes. The guy that takes over for the governor,
Braden, I think.
he really gets his army or his soldiers in place, his guard, really, really quick. And I understand that they had to do that because they only had 6 episodes.
Well,
but
and he was in charge of the rebellion, wasn't he?
he
Wasn't
was.
he the one
He was-
behind it?
Well,
so
he
that's
was
kinda how
behind it. He wasn't necessarily in charge of it because... Well, he
Yeah.
was in charge, but the governor didn't realize that he was in charge of them
Yeah.
because he was playing both sides so that he could get
and
himself
that's why
into the
having
leadership.
his army I was okay with, because he'd already had this rebellion ready to go.
But the thing is,
and building
most of the
up.
rebels were not part of his
Well,
soldiers.
I
They
just
were-
got to assume there was more rebels that we didn't see.
I
These
think
were just
that
the
the
leaders?
governor put him in charge of... When he put him in charge, I think the idea is that he puts together more of these guards. He has a few, he has a handful,
yeah.
but then suddenly he's got because then there's even, remember he's talking about, he's telling his guards to kill the other rebels to get to
Yeah,
do away
yeah.
with the rest of the rebels. So I mean, there clearly were still some rebels there too. So overall, I'm gonna I want to tip my hat a little bit because I think when this comes out on DVD, I think we're going to look at the color version of this. But the color version dropped on iTunes today. I got all 6 episodes.
Oh, did you?
And so what happened was I went to watch episode 6 and realized that the color ones that were there, and I was having a hard time finding the black and white 6. So I thought, okay. So I clicked on the color one. The color looks terrific, and it fixes a lot of things I had with this. But
And
again, we'll talk, with the animation. So we'll talk about that a little more when we actually do a bulk review of the DVD, and we'll talk a little bit about more of the color. But just a little hint, I think it makes a lot of the things more palatable than the black and white version does. Although I'm glad they did it black and white so that you kind of have that, pure form of, at least purest form that you can, of how it was presented originally. But the color vastly improved some of the blemishes I felt that the story had.
For me, I think some of the story, the issues I had with it are personal more than anything. Just going to that, watching it week to week format, or sometimes 2 weeks in between a single episode. And I've discovered while being on overnights, my memory is not quite as great as it normally is. And so I had trouble retaining who certain characters were and what was going on. And it took me a few minutes to get back into the episode enough to be like, oh, okay, now I remember how we left things.
It's a good thing we do those recaps then, huh?
Well,
We've sort of trained ourselves to watch classic Who in chunks, in big bulk. So I think that
I think I will enjoy the story even more during Friday Night Who.
Yeah.
Well, you've put me at a fairly succinct disadvantage then. I did not get my homework done for this week with all the family stuff that was going on in the holidays. So I did not get to Power of the Daleks, even planning to try and do an episode a night. I didn't get to. And I kind of thought to myself, well, I'll just knock it out and treat it like a movie and do it that way. But if you're saying you don't think you enjoyed it, I feel like I really need to watch it episodically now to make sure
I didn't enjoy it. I'm just saying
but you didn't enjoy that aspect of it.
Yeah, I think
that was one of those nitpicks about it, is the fact that he couldn't remember characters, things like that. But
the story didn't gel as well because I had such distance between each part.
I feel like I really need to watch it episodically then.
So you know whether that's the case or not. So you experience it that way.
Yeah. Because I will always default to the quote-unquote omnibus style.
Right. We just watch it all at one chunk.
Watching it all in one chunk, or as we do it and breaking up in, maybe 2 styles. Yeah. But, I feel like maybe I need to. Because I hate watching New Who that way. I was very happy not doing a podcast and getting a whole season worth of New Who and then just digesting it over a day or two.
At least those are, for the most part, standalone stories.
Doesn't matter.
We do have the 2 parts every once in a while. But should we move on to the Ninth Doctor's Christmas special?
Yeah, let's talk about the Ninth Doctor Christmas special.
Well, besides the fact that the Ninth Doctor, to me, has already had a Christmas special, and the fact that I always think of the Unquiet Dead as the Ninth Doctor's Christmas special.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
I didn't like this.
You know why I didn't like it?
Why?
Because we haven't read the comics. And the characters,
we've got the
Slitheen, the new
unit nurse.
They're all from the comics introduced in the new line.
I thought the same thing. When I read that, though, I thought, these must be new ongoing companions.
I went and looked them up just to make sure, especially the Slitheen, to make sure she wasn't the one from the
Well, that was
series
my
1.
first thought. As I started reading that, I thought, they can't do this. That kind of mucks up the finding her again, hiding out in Wales and Cardiff as the governess or whatever she was. I can't remember what she was, head of something. And that kind of mucks that up if they've met her one other time. She was mayor, Mayor Cardiff. And so that mucks that up if she's, they've already met her once before. And then it occurred to me that the name didn't sound right. And so I did the same thing, Keith. I went and looked, and I went, oh, this is a character that has been introduced in the Ninth Doctor comics.
And I'm assuming the big bad guy, quote unquote, was too, even though he didn't have a TARDIS wiki page.
Yeah, he wasn't exactly a big bad. I just kind of got the impression he was a callback to an off-story character that the Doctor had come across at one point. So that one worked for me. The character worked for me. But yeah, being introduced to the new characters, and then just kind of, I agree that it's a Christmas story. It's supposed to be a little aloof and silly, but there's no substance to it. You know what I mean?
And it's a short. But to some extent, the settings, I think, works really well because it also plays into that reality show episode that it kind of jumps off of that because it goes from reality show to talk show.
Yeah.
So I like that aspect of it, of them trying to further that idea in a short story.
I thought it was fun. I was fairly clueless. I also thought it was the Slitheen from the episodes, and I just kind of chalked it up to, well, this is after she reverted back to an egg and went home, and
Can't be.
in my head it could.
It can't be, because that episode takes place right as they go to the space station and are pulled into. You can't fit this story because Jack's not there, for one thing, and Jack's with them from that episode to the episode where they all end up on the space station on the reality TV show. So
Yeah,
you
but
can't fit it there.
time
It
is
has
fluid.
to be. In fact, it has to be.
Well, there's nothing at the end of the Boomtown to push you towards that episode.
Other than the fact that Jack's with them. And
Yeah,
he's
other
not.
than
yeah,
that
that's what I'm
aspect,
saying.
yeah.
You've got that one connected
But
factor.
you could
so we
fit-
know those go
if-
right back
if
to
Jack
back.
were in here, you
If
could
Jack were
fit
in
it
there,
in there.
absolutely,
Yeah.
you could shoe it in, but you can't.
Unless Jack's off
I
doing
think,
something.
I think this is taking place.
That's-
I don't know how the ninth series is running, but I think this is taking place before all of that. So
More than
after
a-
the Slitheen, but before
you
Captain
are
Jack.
probably, more than likely, 100%
Unless there is an
correct.
issue in there somewhere where they dropped off Jack and then pick him up later.
Which is possible because in the books, in the
They do.
only human,
Yeah.
they've dropped Jack off in the past, future, past.
The new companion, I kind of felt was the same way. I was like, oh, okay, this is shoehorned somewhere in the Ninth Doctor's.
Yeah.
See, okay, fine.
That's good. I think it's cool that she's a unit character.
A unit
Yeah,
nurse, I
I
liked.
agree.
I liked the whole television show with gravity chairs, and I like the idea of Celine being a talk show host. I think that's kind of fun and nutty.
And the fact that the gravity chairs are needed because people keep storming the stage.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
The panels didn't seem to go along with the story either.
No, I think they pulled them from the comic. So whatever comic stories they were involved in, I think that was it.
So they weren't special to that either.
I don't think so.
I appreciate the attempt. I didn't all that much enjoy it.
Glenn didn't like it because the Celine are in it.
Well, that could have been it too. which makes me concerned about the Ninth Doctor ongoing series.
I do like the slightly different approach to the Slitheen. The fact that apparently she used to be evil, and now she's just a talk show host, and she thought this would get good ratings, and she's the one to make sure to shut everything down and make sure things don't escalate and get worse.
It's nice to have some. She's not a villain.
And she starts off thinking she is going to be, and then she winds up not.
Yeah.
I did appreciate that aspect of it.
But for a short story, it was okay.
Tell you how they do short stories well. It's this next compilation that we're going to review.
The 12 Doctors of Christmas. 12 festive adventures starring 12 incarnations of the ever-enduring Doctor. Bright and brilliant, these tales are filled with monsters, mayhem, merriments, and plenty of Christmas magic.
Dun dun dun.
Yeah, dun dun dun. I give the whole book a dun,
I
dun,
would
dun.
agree.
Let's step through them because there are some that I think are weaker than others. But
The first one is All I Want for Christmas by Jacqueline Rayner.
First Doctor.
For the first Doctor. Yeah, these will go chronologically through the Doctors. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Yes.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
So this is the First Doctor, and
It's the
Vicky
first Doctor.
and
Vicky,
Susan
Barbara.
and Barbara. Or not Susan. Barbara and Ian.
Vicky and Barbara and Ian. Yes,
I like this one quite a bit.
I did
I
too.
did too, and I like the idea that Vicky wants to give Barbara an old-fashioned Christmas that she remembers, and utilizes the device in order to do that. And it kind of goes awry. It goes amok basically because Vicky doesn't quite comprehend the things that Barbara describes to her. Vicky doesn't quite comprehend the things that Barbara describes to her, and so they kind
It's
of
great
get,
how it goes around.
yeah, the snapdragon ends up being an actual dragon. Barbara sees her father again, but it's really kind of heartwarming that Vicky tries to do something. When the Doctor doesn't quite figure out what's going on, I kind of thought that was kind of weird that he was playing along with it, because I knew something was wrong because it just keeps getting grander and grander things that are happening.
Yeah.
And so I knew something was wrong, but I do like that the Doctor really kind of ultimately did see what was happening, and that they were having this joint dream essentially that was getting out of control. And the way that he handles it at the end kind of was a nice touch as well. They've all got a real nice Christmassy, heartwarming message at the end of them, I think, for the most part.
Yeah, for the most part. I did find it odd that the Doctor was kind of, especially after at first being, no, this is not right. just kind of rolling with it.
That's sort of what I meant. It was like
Yeah.
you expect that he knows something's going on, but then he sort of goes along with it.
Well, he's even adamant that it's a trap.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it was very early on that he was adamant that it was a trap. Yeah.
And then he goes, almost complete 180. Oh, it's a trap. No, just roll with it. It'll be all right. And it was at that point that I went, oh, you know something.
Well, I
You're
wonder
not
if
letting
he clued
on.
him in on it.
I didn't think it was conveyed because
No, I
he
just
kind
wondered.
of but he kind of the way he addresses her. Well, I guess even she could have clued him in on it. Had you mean before it happened?
Yeah.
Before it started? I don't think so because the way he addresses her at the end as a
Oh, that's true.
as kind of a you were well-meaning, but it was kind of a mistake the way he went about it type thing.
Yeah,
It makes me
that's a
think
good
that
point.
it wasn't. He wasn't in on it, but he had kind of, as Sean said, figured it out as it went. Kind of rolled with it.
You know what terrified me is the idea that the Christmas pudding is actually made with money in it. I had no idea that was a thing.
Yeah.
And just the idea of getting a dollop of pie filling
Well,
with
you
a
just got to be
silver
careful.
dollar.
It's kind of like a king's cake, though. At Mardi Gras, you've seen those, haven't you? Where they have different items baked into the cake, and depending on which one you get, depends on, I don't know, luck or fortune or whatever. They're little plastic pieces now. Sometimes I think they're pewter. I don't think they use pewter anymore, but plastic pieces in there that you find, and there's a baby Jesus in there. I don't know too much about it, but we had a king cake one time. They brought one into work, and depending on the piece that you get, depends on something that fortune or whatever you get for the year. So if you get the baby Jesus, I think it's a good thing. Just don't swallow the baby Jesus. That would be a
Bite
bad
into the
thing.
baby Jesus.
For the record, I don't
Break a
want
tooth.
anything non-edible in my food. Because I won't notice.
Fortune cookies have an item that's not edible.
I don't eat those.
Oh, well, okay.
I break them up and take the fortunes out, but I don't.
Well,
I generally eat them.
Well,
Same
but
concept.
he also knows there's something in
Same
there, so he doesn't eat them
Well,
whole.
but you, if you lived in the UK, you would know that there was money in your pudding.
No.
I love the fact that it was gold Frankenstein and myrrh.
Yeah.
There's a lot of great moments.
There
Yeah.
was a lot of good moments. Should we move on to the second Doctor story?
A Comedy of Terrors by Colin Brake. So this story was spoiled for me by looking at the illustration.
Oh, what's the illustration? Because I didn't look at any of the illustrations.
Oh, shame on you. They're good. They're good illustrations. Here's the first Doctor.
Oh, yeah, okay. I did see that one. I did not see that one.
So
okay.
the reveal that it was a Slovene was ruined for me.
Now, here's a story I can get behind that has Slovene in it.
This for me was the weakest one in the book. I still liked it. I still enjoyed what they were. I get what they were trying to do with it, with doing the pantomime and playing everything up to the point where the entire story is very farcical. And putting a Slovene in that environment was great because that's almost, perfect use of them.
And putting the Slovene against the second Doctor, I think, works really well too.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And the spoilers, the fact that he accidentally blows it up.
Yes. Oh, I didn't know it was going to do that.
Yeah.
I just wanted to,
I thought it would stung it.
Which explains how he knows how to dispatch him in the Ninth Doctor story,
Yeah.
right? I think the really cool thing about this is the misdirection you get of the princess's mother and how you think that she's the bad guy. I knew there was something wrong with the woman that was producing the play and putting it on. I knew there's something wrong,
odd about
especially that the Doctor picks up on it and keeps testing her with the Scottish play, the different things that he kept throwing out there. But
yeah, I knew she was a Sicilian from the start, and I didn't get spoiled on the photo.
there was
It
a
was
whole
just kind of an obvious one.
Well, when she's gassish, I kind of suspected, but I was good with that. I was fine that they were going that direction. I did like the misdirect and the fact that you're meant to think
That I
the-
didn't see,
the
yeah.
queen or the mother was the stepmother, was a
Yeah.
wicked stepmother, but she really wasn't. It ends up giving her life for the princess too. Was pretty cool. I think it was one of the weaker ones. I'll agree with you there. I don't think it was the weakest in the book. We're coming to the weakest, but this one I don't think was one of the weakest. But yeah, there are definitely better ones in there.
You mean the Christmas Inversion by Jacqueline Rayner?
man.
I had so much fun reading this
Did
one.
you?
I did too.
I thought it was a blast.
Nothing happens.
That I will agree with.
Yeah, nothing happens.
That was
but
my
it's so
problem.
much fun.
It's a lot of running around, and then I mean, nothing has to happen because
Nothing
you know
can
it's
happen.
being taken
Yeah.
care of by the 10th Doctor. I also had some issues where I was trying to figure out where it fit in the Christmas invasion because it's obviously happening consecutive or congruently with it. Yeah. But I couldn't figure out where it was, but it must have been after Mickey and Rose
yeah, it's all while they're
end
up
up on the spaceship.
Yeah.
But there was just certain things that Jackie would say that seemed to place it earlier or later until I watched this week or last week
is that
the
why you
Christmas
watched it?
Invasion, and I went, okay, I suppose that does still match up. So it was all right, but it was a lot of running around. What I did like about it was the question that's brought up about, and also I wanted Jackie's memory to be somehow erased because she gets this huge surprise dumped on her that the 10th Doctor is, or the Doctor has changed his face, and then suddenly another Doctor shows up, and I think that there needed to be a little more. I don't know. It may have been the Jackie element of it that I didn't like so much. She knew enough about the Doctor, but she still seemed, she reverted to very naive Jackie in this story, and I think that was the problem I had with it. I think she knew the Doctor well enough that she should have been more accepting of, hey, I'm a different one, earlier version, that kind of stuff, or they should have just erased her memory at the end somehow and fixed all of that for me, but they didn't.
I don't know. I
didn't have any of those issues with Jackie. I guess I thought it was early enough in her timeline that
I will 100% agree. I kept waiting for it to get to the meat of the issue. What is the 3rd Doctor going to have to do in this story that affects or helps the 10th Doctor? Because there's got to be a reason for him to be brought to this time, and there wasn't. There was just nothing there.
It
was
does
just
almost give here's how the Doctor could cut off his hand or grow back a new hand because he has that regeneration energy that kind of leaks out of him. I kind of took that as that's how he was able to grow back his hand after.
Well,
because it was.
I kind of knew that from the episode anyway, but I
But
thought
that
what
came
was
from himself. In a
what
prior
was
version.
interesting. Well, it does imply that. I forgot. Yeah, it
Siphoning
does
some
say that.
off is
Yeah.
what maybe woke him up, and not so much the cup of tea.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Which I think kind of cheapens the really cool moment where the tea falls and is inverted in the TARDIS, and that's what revives him and wakes him up in the story. So I think it kind of cheapens that.
See, I
But
didn't
there
think it was the tea. I thought it was just him growing back the hand. Because I don't remember regeneration
Well,
energy showing up when
he makes the
dropped
comment
tea.
that there's still residual
Yeah.
regeneration energy, and that's why I can do this. And he does the hand thing, and so he
Right, they're two separate events, because first he's comatose through most of Christmas Invasion.
right.
Yeah, I remember
And then
that.
he finally gets up and says, I just needed a good cup of tea because it tipped over in the TARDIS. And then he gets his hand cut off but gets to grow a new one because he's got the residual energy. But I kind of like the idea that the reason he woke up wasn't so much from the cup of tea, it was the fact that he siphoned off some of the regeneration energy from the 3rd Doctor's presence, and that's kind of what kick-started waking him up. That's how I read it.
It does kind of imply that. You're right.
yeah.
It does.
Now, the problem with that is that, well, that's what you're here to do. If that's it, the whole reason the 3rd Doctor's presence within this story, other than because we can, is to then kickstart the 10th Doctor waking up so that he can go fight the Sycorax. And it's like, okay, you've done that. There's no reason for the 3rd Doctor and Joe and Mike to continue to hang around in that story, not knowing that obviously, but it creates nothing's happening.
Yeah.
And so I think this one you really kind of just have to take it as a
Well-
clever, look what I did, and then you move on. I
The
think it was a lot of
pretty
fun.
much.
The thing that I do like about it, the purpose that it does serve is the question that Joe has for the Doctor, because Jackie brings up the point, well, do you just dump him off and you leave him because if Rose is not the first one, blah blah blah, and then he brings up the point that they always leave him, and he reassures Joe that he's not going to just dump her somewhere, that they always leave him, and so that was a nice moment, I thought,
And it's a little bittersweet too, knowing
that Joe
what
leaves
we
him.
know.
It almost prepares her for the Green Death.
Yeah.
For me,
I didn't hate the story.
So
Don't get me
many
wrong.
great moments
There was a lot of fun moments.
the fact that they realize, maybe having a sign saying Unit HQ isn't the best idea anymore.
Well, I do like the fact that the guard won't let him in. Sure, you're like the 5th one today that's come by and said there was a doctor.
And the fact that Joe is so convinced that it's the master behind everything the entire time, and then he does show up all tangled up. There may not have been any meat here, but there was such great frosting that I'm okay with it.
The other hiccup, the
way to look at it.
The other hiccup with this whole thing is I suppose you could work around and look at it because of things we know now, but there was a time lock, so none of the doctors past the 8th Doctor could have met any of the past incarnations, because regardless of the fact that the moment doesn't take effect the way we believed it did originally, there still was a time lock that was not allowing him to go into his past or the past to come into his future. That was established by Russell's era. So that the 3rd Doctor conceivably should not have even been able to end up here in the first place. But you could talk your way out of it, but...
That seems like a stretch to complain to about, too.
I still don't think the time lock works the way you think it does.
That's
what I fall down on.
That's just it. It doesn't, now that Moffat has kind of rewritten the time lock, but in effect it does. I mean, that's how it was supposed to work.
It's a big wall.
What is a wall? And once the moment happens, everything is put into a time lock. Even if it's a giant physical wall, as now the comics have alluded to, that's fine. But nothing can go in or out, and that also prevents the Doctor from any events that happened to him before that incarnation. Basically, they can't meet while Gallifrey is behind that.
Yeah,
time
I think
lock.
it's only anything Gallifrey and Time War related, since the 3rd Doctor was on Earth.
And the reason being is because that same Doctor is interacting with Gallifreyans in his past. So the time lock disallows him from going into any of the time zone, creating a paradox if he goes into the time zone of the 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th on Doctors. And there still is a... We're going to get into something really detailed that we're going to talk on for far too long, and maybe I should just stop. But to me, that it can't work. That's why there's a time lock element in there.
Yeah, I don't read it that way.
See, I don't either. I think time lock affects Gallifrey and Time War specific stuff.
Although you could argue that the 5th Doctor and the 10th Doctor did
so
interact with each other as well. So I suppose there's that.
Because that was before the Time War. And after the Time War. So those events are not time locked.
It's mostly just the War Doctor that's time locked.
Pretty much. Which is why we didn't hear of him.
Mm-hmm.
See?
Okay, I'll give you that.
Fixed.
That's how I take it.
No, I agree with you. There's not much here, but it's just, I thought it was a fun story for the sake of being a fun story. And this, honestly, this is the way to do a Christmas special.
Oh, yeah.
This is way better than the superhero thing we got last week. I'll say that for it.
What about The 3 Wise Men by Richard Dungworth?
I like that they used actual astronauts from history, from Earth history, and the fact that the Doctor shows up, basically uses them as a delivery service so that he can repair his TARDIS and get on his way, and the 3 of them basically just say, we just won't even admit this. They'll think we're crazy. Oh, wait, we may have proof or evidence of it. Oh, no, the Doctor has fixed that as well.
Talk about a story without meat.
Yeah, well, and maybe it just had the fact that but see, that seems to be that the Doctor has a purpose. I mean, he has a plan. He has figured it out all the way to the very end of setting the loop back so that they lose that 45 minutes?
Something like that.
Yeah.
45 minutes of even recorded tape so that they don't even have proof of him showing up at that point as well, because they end up back.
Now, am I crazy? Has this appeared anywhere else prior to this book?
Did it sound familiar to you?
I read this thing somewhere. I have no idea why or where, but as I was reading it, I was like, this is the one with the astronauts. And it's this.
Maybe it has.
Well,
I am convinced that I've read it before.
I'm wondering if your brain is processing the first Doctor story where Gillian and John are on the moon and the astronauts land on the moon and they have to help them because they're just there to observe, but then the astronauts end up in the hole, and I'm wondering if maybe you're cross-pollinating.
I don't know. I just
stories.
as I got further and further into it, the more convinced I became. It wasn't just that it was familiar. It wasn't like a deja vu. It was like, I have read this. And I could not figure out where or why I would have read it or how.
Do you remember that story, right?
Yeah, I remember that one, the
about.
TV.
I'm wondering if your TV
one.
comic one. Yeah, I wondered if you're cross-pollinating the story.
I suppose it's possible, but I remember them going through the atmospheric corridor from the capsule over to the TARDIS, and I was just like, why do I know this? I have no idea.
It seemed familiar to me, but I equated the fact that we had a somewhat similar story that we
Maybe
did
the
with
doctor's going
Thomas.
to pick me up at some point in time in the future. Maybe he did pick me up and
Maybe
he wiped my
picked you up,
memory.
took you to the future. You read this story, and then he took you back.
Yeah. And then he wiped my memory, so I wouldn't know, and I'm picking that up.
Here's the funny thing about this:
Yeah,
is I
according
cannot.
to the TARDIS wiki, there's no other instance of this story other than the 12 Doctors of Christmas.
Weird.
I can't remember the Fifth Doctor story in this
The
book.
Fifth Doctor one,
Show
to
him
me-
the picture. See if that jogs his memory.
to me, has the least Christmas connection to it. Sontar's Little Helpers by Mike Turner.
Now that sounds vaguely familiar.
The Sontaran one, where they land on the spaceship, where Tegan and Turlo and him land on the spaceship, and Turlo has to go fight the Sontaran in space.
That's right. The spaceship. They've crashed. They haven't crashed, but there's a
As
crash
far
ship.
as the-
They've come to the beacon.
Yeah.
And the beacon's put in. Okay,
This was
I
an
got you.
enjoyable
Okay.
story, not very much a Christmas
Yeah,
story in my
yeah,
opinion.
very,
the only,
very little
the only
Christmas to
Christmas connection I saw was that it was set at Christmas, supposedly, Christmas Eve.
And it was carrying supplies to the human colony on Christmas. So that was kind of the Santa connection.
See, I didn't pick
But
that
it was-
up until you just
It
now
was
mentioned
weak.
it.
And then the fact that the Sontaran robots, at the end, Sontar Little Helpers, I was like, oh, bad puns.
Yeah.
Now, having said that, I liked the story
I
a
like the
lot.
story
yeah,
as
me
well.
too.
Yeah, now that I remember it.
I like the fact that we get a little insight into Turlo and the fact that he is not just, the prince or whatever he wound up being from his own planet, but he was in the military, knew how to
Yeah.
fly. I mean, it really lent a lot to why he's able to kind of know what's going on with the TARDIS and,
Right.
and just added to that mystery for me. I thought it was really
No,
cool.
I would agree. I
Yeah,
would agree.
I would agree,
It really expanded Turlo's character immensely in just a short few little pages. Worked really well.
And again, the characterization was great for the Fifth Doctor and Tegan as well. And
No, absolutely.
the Sontaran guy's like, man, I would not want to be in your shoes when you get
Tegan,
back home.
Tegan, although she did serve this purpose in the series as well, but Tegan was a little too much of the question, just a question girl. She was the exhibition.
get a lot
she
to
had
do,
to get
yeah.
she had to kind of
No, she totally didn't get anything to do, but
drive the plot.
that
That
was
fits
kind
in
of
line
her-
with the era.
yeah, that was kind of her role, was to
Yeah, sort of.
you go distract the robot and I'll rewire it.
Sort of makes you want, though, a writer to give those characters that didn't have a lot to do in the series
Like
more
they
to
did
do.
like they do with Nissa and Big Finish.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
How about The Fairy Tale of New New York, by Gary Russell.
that was neat. I like
It was
that
a-
it comes down to the fact that they were basically isolating these kids so that they could eradicate an allergy.
Yeah,
That was
and
a
that it
little
was
twist.
just miscommunication. They
Yep.
didn't realize what was happening.
That was a neat little twist as well. The reason why that they were armed. I mean, the doctor gets very suspicious of things that are going on, and when he, the head cat, when he confronts her, and it is almost very accusatory to
Yeah.
the way that these kids are being treated, to the fact that they have armed guards and things like that. And when, as they sort of outline what the reasoning behind all this, you kind of go, oh yeah, I kind of feel bad that I was in the same boat with the doctor.
Well, it
And
made,
the fact that the Kitlings are allergic to humans.
Yeah.
it made me angry initially.
Yeah, me
because I'm
too.
like, well, first of all, why are we doing another story where Catkind is the bad guys?
Yeah.
We've already done that. And then I got angry with Catkind because it's like, you guys, no, that's not right. What's with the? And you're eating them, and And then as it was all explained, it was like, oh,
Yeah,
I'm so ashamed.
I thought the same thing.
Which kind of fits in line with the Sixth Doctor's persona. He would get so riled up about something and it not be actually the case that it kind of works.
True, that's very true. Very
He'd
true.
get on a soapbox and then realize his soapbox has no legs.
And this one was with Mel, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, which was enjoyable.
Uh-huh.
I quite enjoyed Mel as well in this.
I would agree. The Grotto by Mike Tucker.
Loved this one.
This was
was
fun.
a
I
lot
thought
of
it was
fun.
really
This
cool.
one really, I think that they did a good job capturing the character and the trappings of each of the Doctors. Don't get me wrong. This is the one that fit the best with Seven and Ace. I mean, it just really felt like a Seven and Ace story, just all the way down to the bottom. It was, that one was really good. This one's one of my top favorites in
Yeah.
this story.
I love the idea that this thing is loose and kind of reminded me of Gremlins 2, maybe, where we're in the department store. Just this thing running around in the Christmas trees, and
I don't often like when things remind me of Gremlins 2, but yeah, I can see that.
Roddy McDowell, though. Gremlins 2 gets a pass just for that.
No. The security guard and the janitor were very, very cool. Nice little touches too.
It almost has a
glad the
Krampus
security
feel
guard
to
wasn't
it.
dead.
Yeah, I know.
So glad
I was starting to get worried.
He does too.
He got nabbed and he got taken into the grotto. And it's like,
And there's blood left behind, and I thought, oh no,
this is going to be one of those stories. You can't do that on Christmas. But then he didn't. So it's like, whew.
The trust that the Seventh Doctor puts in Ace. I mean, he really treats her as. And I think he did so much in the story too. He's the learned professor that is teaching her, but also has this level of security with her that he can trust us. Even though she's a 16-year-old girl, he can send her off on these little missions because he knows that she's perfectly capable of these things. And going down and getting the perfume, coming back up, making the stink bombs. That
Helping
was
them with every single one of them.
Every one of them.
Every single one.
And then having to apologize to the professor because he got pretty doused as well.
I was a little bummed when she says, "Oh, maybe I could pick up a new bat," because I was right there going, "Yeah." No, we don't have time for that. Aww.
It was a nice little nod, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one was fun. That was darker, like you said. It kind of had more of a Krampus feel.
Yeah,
but it was
because he was a monster.
Yeah, it ended up still being a good. It's still Christmassy and still feels lighthearted enough. But it was on that edge of maybe going a little too dark there. But then they pull it back and they say, okay, well the security guard's not dead, and then they bring the comical janitor in. I mean, he's not really even comical. It's just he is like the definition of wrong place at the wrong time. And it works out really well.
The image in my head that I will not be able to get rid of forever is the idea of them going and getting a cart and loading this thing onto it and wheeling it up to the roof to put it, to get him into the TARDIS. And that to me is funny.
Which we don't know if the Doctor dumped this thing off where it was supposed to be or not. It may still be in the TARDIS somewhere.
That's true.
We didn't get that part of the story. We know that was the intention. We didn't see it happen.
We know a lot of things that he intends to do doesn't happen.
Right. He might have got distracted. He had to return that book to that library that he had for like 600 years. True. So he might have decided at that point that, I need to go take that book back to that library. I'm going way back into the Big Finish stuff, but it was one of the Dalek ones, wasn't it? Dalek Empire ones?
I think it was.
So he might have gotten distracted by that book because he got distracted by that book 600 years ago.
Or he had to remember the Hand of Omega coming back around.
He had to go back over there and get the...
Maybe it was time for that.
That would have been after the Hand of Omega because she says, like, maybe I can get another bat. So she'd already lost
she's already used it on beating up Daleks at that point. Or, and since this thing was genetically engineered with this little probe to be a warrior, did he maybe decide, I'm not going to take you back here.
I'm going to fix you so you're not a warrior.
I'm going to give you a better life.
It's possible.
I'm going to take you somewhere else, and we'll fix it so that you're not primal. Or would you like to be primal and just left on some uncharted planet? I can do that too.
Yeah.
Could go either way.
There's a whole host of things for Christmas. Pick one. It's a choose-your-own-adventure book.
Merry Christmas.
Ghost of Christmas Past, written by Scott Hancock.
This is my absolute favorite one right here.
This is my absolute favorite illustration.
Let me see the illustration. I think I did see this one.
Gorgeous.
Yes, I did. Yes, yeah.
It is absolutely gorgeous.
The information cube.
Yes. So this is the one where he's trapped. The TARDIS is on a loop for Christmas Eve, right?
11:59.
It will not turn Christmas Day.
Midnight.
This was such a good story.
It was. And
I'm really glad to hear you guys say that because it reminded me so much of the one that I wrote for Doctor Who Reincarnated.
Oh, yeah.
As soon as I started reading this, I went, I've already read this one. No, I didn't. I wrote this one.
So cool how it's essentially the TARDIS giving him a Christmas present of the box that Susan has sent to kind of update her grandfather on where they are now. And it's a Christmas letter. It's a Christmas card.
And him being so grumpy ahead of it because of trying to dodge the Time War the entire time. It's just... It has such emotion and such heart to it.
That was another neat thing about it, is it addresses the fact that this is at a time where he's avoiding the Time War. Mm-hmm. He's like, there's, I'm not going to get involved with that. He keeps dodging. He keeps almost getting dragged in. Clearly, Dark Eyes is probably either happening or has happened, and he's, edging towards that. Okay, I'm not going to get involved in this kind of thing. And that was really well placed.
It has one problem. I needed him at the end to set course for Susan and go visit. I did not like the fact that it was ambiguous, but it really seemed like, no, he was off to go do more cosmos exploring and that kind of stuff. It was like, no, you just got the invite to Christmas dinner. You've got to go say hi.
Doesn't the Big Finish story, The Earthly Child, though, reunite the Eighth Doctor and Susan?
Does.
So
Is it at Christmas?
I think maybe they didn't want... That would be cool. I wonder if maybe they didn't want to step on any toes of that story.
Well, I didn't want to see him meet her because that's
just
already
set us
happened
up for that adventure.
But he could have just set the coordinates and gone, maybe it's time. I need to go see Susan.
Yeah,
and that would have been,
fine with that.
you could have even led right into An Earthly Child, and I'd have been like, woo! But instead he goes...
I don't know how An Earthly Child plays out, so
I do.
I would have had a problem with...
So it would have been okay with it.
I'd have been okay with it.
Okay.
It would have worked.
It would have worked. I think it would have.
But I love the fact that Susan gives him optimism again after
Yeah,
he's almost
absolutely.
beat down by the
Absolutely.
Time War. That it's Susan that gives him the aspiration that the Time War didn't have to be the end of everything.
I like how the TARDIS is leading him on kind of a wild goose chase. And there's a knock at the door, and he goes and looks, and there's nothing there. And he ends up going down some of the halls of the corridor, passing the rooms of former companions.
Yeah.
Thinking about going in and realizing there's a reason why he doesn't go in and revisit these rooms. I thought that was really neat.
It was full of depth.
Yeah.
And first of all, anytime you can get depth into the Doctor, it's great. Anytime you can get depth into the Eighth Doctor, it's an added layer of awesome.
Well, it's interesting. This is the Doctor that one of these days I'd like to go back from the movie to the Time War and watch, because if you look, we kind of jump in different eras, but if you look, this Doctor has such, not just growth, but such a difference from being the happy-go-lucky, fun, yay Doctor to even through the as rough as the Divergent universe was for us. It was a catalyst that changed the man, and Zagreus was as well. And so to kind of go from point A to point B one day and watch the progression of this Doctor, and this being in that kind of more grumpy, avoiding the Time War, not even reclusive, but singular Doctor, not traveling with anybody. I think it would be neat to go from A to B and include this in there. I think it paints a really nice picture of that Eighth Doctor.
It really does.
I'd agree.
The Red Bicycle, written by Gary Russell.
This one's the epitome of fun to me.
Yeah.
It's nice to see the
I don't know how
Ninth
much to say
Doctor.
about the
Scrap robot steals a red bike
Yep.
It's nice
As a
to see
revenge.
as revenge.
after having so many of the Eighth Doctor Big Finish stories dealing with the web of time and how adamant he is that we can't screw this up, and then he winds up screwing it up with Charlie. It's kind of nice to have the Ninth Doctor come in and go,
Well,
it's nice
he's
to
making
see
the
him
point-
working his way through the thought process too.
He's making the point to Rose though at the beginning that you can't mess with, and she does to prove the point. Doesn't she convince
She gets
him
that-
to get the record for Jackie, the album?
But she just does it on her own,
yeah.
and
Oh,
then
she
went
did
back
just
and
do it.
told him and
Yeah.
said, "See,
it didn't affect anything." And so then at that point, then he's kind of, well, maybe. And so it's like he's kind of testing the waters. Maybe I get a little bigger element. See what this does.
which I think leads nicely into the 10th Doctor's, sure, let's go change things.
Yeah. And then the 11th Doctor going, well, if you rewrite it correctly.
Yeah, it's fun. There's just not a lot to say about it because it is just...
One of my favorite things is the fact that the kid steals the bike first, and he rides off, and there's a chase scene. The Doctor goes after him. And when the Doctor finally catches up to him, the kid has this look on his face like, what just happened? And he has to recount to him, a guy took it. A big, giant metal guy. There was a flash of light, took the bike, gone. The kid's not even worried now that he has stolen a bike from this man he's talking to. He is so, in shock of what just happened. He is like, that's your problem now. What?
And it's a great moment, too, when the Doctor's talking on and on and on about the red paper and the green things and the Father Christmas on the thing, and I'm going to put it on the thing. She's going to be so happy. And he turns around and it's just a pile of wrapping paper.
The kid's on the bike.
And you realize the kid that just passed you on the bike at the beginning of the story, that was your bike.
That was your bike. The other thing I thought was cool was how visual the writing was for the battle between the three henchman robots.
Oh,
And how
yeah,
well
yeah.
that was written, so that you could really see how he was thwarting these with bringing the piles down on top of them and narrowly missing the one pile as it came careening onto him. It was written really well. And
yeah.
exciting.
It was a little Sonic fixes all, but it's a Christmas
it
story.
was sort
I'm
of
with
okay,
it.
especially for as truncated of a story as it
Yeah.
was. It's a lot more forgiving.
And he was literally using sonic vibrations to cause things to topple
Right,
because they're already
right. So
on
it
a
wasn't out of
precipice
the realm
anyways.
of Sonic possibility.
It was probably a better use of Sonic than most things.
Unless it's opening the door.
It was a wrecking ball, not a tricorder.
Yeah.
Sound can be used that way better than a tricorder.
Yeah. Number
Loose
10.
Wire, written by Richard Dungworth.
Remember how about 8 or 9 months ago I was joking about somebody will eventually bring the wire back?
Yeah.
Here it is. This is my other least favorite. I did
not
enjoy it. I
bad,
didn't
though.
hate this story. Don't get me wrong.
I expect once I realized it was The Wire, I thought I was going to hate it.
This one sort of landed low on my list of ranking these.
I really liked this one.
Really?
And I liked it because The Wire didn't suck.
Well, that's the saving grace of this is I think The Wire is done well. It's modernized.
I
And
think
it's done well. I also think there are moments that the action is written really well. I could very well visualize in my head what is happening, especially the phone, the car chase. Well, they're not really chasing anything other than it's in the car with them. But the car, driving, trying to get out of the protection barrier that he's put over the house. So it was fun enough that I was distracted by the fact that it was this crappy wire from the Idiot's Lantern, but used better.
it's convinced me that The Wire isn't necessarily a bad idea for a villain. It just doesn't work on television. I think it would work in Big Finish, and it works obviously in prose.
Certainly does work.
I think it
better.
works better in...
When you describe what's going on instead of having to see what's happening.
I think it works better also with the multiple options. It becomes a much more
Set in modern
dynamic
day,
villain
yes.
with the option of going from a wireless to a Bluetooth to a speaker
Wi-Fi
to a this.
to- yeah.
It makes it more ominous, too.
Yeah, it's not just,
More threatening.
we'll turn the TV off. Oh,
Yep.
the end.
Yeah.
It's just- no, I really liked this one. I liked, what was the girl's name?
Alice Wu.
I liked Alice. I thought she was a great character. Another one of those, this is almost a companion audition kind of going on right here, and I'd be all right with it.
Well, wasn't she 12?
Yeah.
Didn't matter. Didn't matter. I think she acquitted herself well.
Yeah,
You
she
know.
did well. I was a little sad at the end that she wasn't going to be able to get her new phone because it's set up with that. That's the biggest thing for her. Until he does the little jiggery poking with the her phone, and it's so much
Sonic,
better now.
Yeah.
And it's her old phone. It's like, but it's so much better now. It's a lot of stuff that
This was a jam-packed story.
yeah, just a lot of stuff going on in that one. In fact, this was one of the ones where I kept reading, thinking it was going to. Surely they're going to come to a climax. Surely they're going to end this thing. And it just keeps going and going, and it's not any longer than any of
it's
the other
not.
stories. It's pacing so much.
Yeah.
That I think I'm so exhausted just reading this.
It felt
Well,
like it
it's-
was building up to a climax after he got done at the beginning, before the car chase happened.
Yes, agreed.
Yeah.
You know, and I was like, oh, there's
Well,
more to this
because
story.
Then we do the phone, then we go to the speaker, then we go to the car, then we go to it on and on. And on.
I think it really fits in well to the 10th Doctor's era and his personality of his manic, constant running aspect to that characterization.
That's true. That's a good point.
It really ties in well.
And the fact that he accidentally let it out because he was looking for an episode of something that he had taped.
He was looking for It's a Wonderful
Betamax.
Life.
Yeah, look on.
Oh, and I
Betamax.
like the fact that she remembers that her mom has the mixtape because she likes her old recorded audio in the car, which I thought that's a very old person thing to have the old technology when you could just have those on MP3, burn them on a CD, and play them. She still wants these old cassettes that she plugs
Yeah.
into the car radio. Number 11.
The Gift, written by Scott Handcock. This is the little creature one, where they wind up
Oh.
taking it back to its planet.
It was quaint.
I
was
loved this story.
It was quaint.
I had to
liked it.
refresh myself just now. Because
Yeah,
I
it was the
did
one where
not
it
remember
comes over into their world. He has to trap it, send it back into its world,
and
then
teaches
she
it the gift
takes
of Christmas.
He takes the little girl over there in order to retrieve the presents that it's stolen, and she ends up giving the gift to the little guy. And I love how they're kind of this society that don't understand the connectivity of giving and sharing and things like that. They just
Yeah.
go about their day, and that's
Well,
their society.
And the fact that the end, it's 34 years later that he goes and picks her up again and takes
because
her
she
back.
has changed their society in
yeah.
such a positive way. I thought that was neat.
I think it's a perfect. You mentioned the other one being the epitome of the 10th Doctor's era.
Oh, this is totally 11th.
This is totally the epitome of the 11th
This
Doctor's
is
era.
channeling Dr. the Widow in the Wardrobe.
It's got a kid. It's got Matt Smith's Doctor relating very well with his kid. It's got a fanciful fairy tale style story to it, and the telling of it, and almost a Grinch Who Stole Christmas kind of all the Who's in Whoville at the end. Yeah. And I was just like, this one was the Christmas. This was the cherry on the pudding for me, and no dollar in my mouth.
Yeah. Who wrote that one?
Scott Hancock.
Scott Hancock. Know if I've read anything that he's written?
Sure, Ghost of Christmas Past.
Oh, well.
Oh, he did the 8th Doctor story,
He
too?
did the 8th Doctor story, too.
Okay, well, there you
He's
go.
my new favorite.
Yep, I like him.
He's your new Justin Richards.
He's my new Justin Richards.
Keep going, Scott.
Anything else about the gift other than how wonderful it is?
It's such a simple
I feel bad
story,
being short on it, but it's
such a simplistic story.
It
There's
is.
not a lot of detail to it, but it's heartwarming. It's a nice, cheerful Christmas tale, and I like that.
And the final one, The Persistence of Memory by Colin Brake.
I wasn't sure how I felt about this one until I got to the end. And then they put a big bow on it, and I was like, yeah.
Yeah. So this was the one that was searching out Nessie, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And
It was
CJ.
okay.
There's a lot of great references
I
to
agree.
the,
Yeah, there.
the 4th Doctor story.
The Zygons.
Yeah.
He's remembering back to the Zygons. How did this one end? Because I'm struggling with remembering. He takes the boy because he wants to do the mystery. Oh, that's right. Okay, I do remember what happened.
CJ collects mysteries, and
It's the monk story.
Yeah,
The meddling monk.
the meddling monk shows
Meddling
up, which is
monk
cool.
shows up.
Dispatched very quick and clean, and let's move back to the CJ, who's kind of the lead of the book, and it just kind of feels like, well, that was kind of, why did we bother, until you get to who CJ is. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember who CJ was.
He
Oh,
was
yes, Clyde.
Clyde from the Ninth Doctor. First
Yes,
Ninth Doctor
yes.
story. Yeah.
But then it was sad.
It's sad because
I know
Clive-
what happens to Clive.
Yeah, he gets killed by the Autons in that one. But it was neat that he's kind of there was more motivation for his looking for the Doctor because he does have these residual memories of it.
Especially when you realize when he's talking about in the spaceship that there are monitors showing the future as well as the past, and one of them is showing what appears to be department store shop dummies coming to life. Mm-hmm. Well, at the time that this particular story is set, the only example that we have of that would be he just witnessed potentially his own death. And
yeah, it was a neat. I agree with you.
regardless.
The capstone on it ends up making the story really, really something special. Throughout it's a bit meandering, but it's interesting. It's compelling.
Well, because you're wondering, it's like,
why?
why are we doing the Loch Ness thing again? We've already done that. And even the Doctor's comments, and let's go do this. And the kid's talking about his mysteries. And
How about the Mary Celeste?
And the Mary Celeste. Daleks. Been there.
Not a mystery. Daleks did
Been there.
that.
And what was the next one?
Stonehenge.
Stonehenge was one. Yeah.
Been there, done that.
All the little name drops, era drops.
So these, and so you're kind of expecting, well, how about the Loch Ness monster? And you would think that's just been there, done that.
Well, he sort of rationalized that out, though, that really wasn't the mystery that everybody's seeing. That
Right.
that was responsible because it was a big robotic animal from the Zygons. So,
But then he does that one, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh, well, okay, yeah, sure, let's go to the Loch Ness for Christmas. And it just didn't, it didn't have that fit to it, like I said, until you get to the end, and that end redeemed that story. It's
Well, it was nice. It was
just
nice with
bringing
the meddling
metal-
monk.
Just that gels the idea of
Yeah.
the Loch Ness monster and everything that he's going that they go throughout the entire story until
Yeah.
you get to that cherry at the end.
yeah.
Agreed. It continues to work. It continues to go on. As I say, it's a bit meandering at times, but it continues to chug along and work. And there's the nice little surprises, the name drops. But yeah, I would agree with Sean. The cherry on the top is who this kid ends up being, or who is revealed that this kid is.
Overall, this is a fantastic
It is.
collection.
It's
I could
terrific.
not put it down.
It is terrific.
I just kept reading and reading and reading.
It's one of those books that I think I could pick up and read again every Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because with the exception of the Fifth Doctor story, every one of them really puts you in the Christmas mood and spirit.
I would agree.
It's just a wonderful collection.
All right, what we got coming up on the schedule, Sean?
Well, coming up next on the schedule, we are into 2017, and that means we're going to finish up The Time Monster, parts 4 through 6 for this week's Friday Night Who with Pertwee. And our next show is going to kind of sort of loosely tie into the Time Monster with the new Candy Jar Lethbridge Stewart book, The Blood of Atlantis, by Simon A. Forward. And we're also going to do the short story The Wishing Bazaar by Sharon Bidwell. And so those will be our show for next week. The following week, we are going to jump into the Seventh Doctor's era with Dragonfire. And we were going to start the 12th Doctor Titan Comics Season 2, which we still haven't got to. We're so far behind on these. So we're going to do issues 1 through 5, and then listen to a Big Finish story, number 74, Live 34, which features the 7th Doctor and Ace. So.
All right, and if you're supporting us on Patreon, we appreciate it. If not, please try and help out. It's a revolving monthly donation that all of the proceeds go back into the show. I think you can make a one-time donation as well, and all of that helps. And Ben obviously did a really good job of promoting all our links and to our different websites on the side of our page. At,
and again, thank you so much for that, Ben.
Yes, absolutely.
Anything else we need to talk about before we close this show and close out 2016 and wonderful 2017? Although we were recording on 2017, but has it been a very merry Vortex Christmas, guys?
I will say it's been a very Vortex Christmas.
Very Vortex Christmas. All right, well, that's going to do it for this week. Until next week, I'm Glenn.
I'm Sean.
I'm Keith.
Cheers.
Good night, everybody.
Be seeing ya.
And a happy New Year to you.
You have been listening to Traveling the Vortex. Doctor Who and all of its associated programs are owned and trademarked by the BBC. No infringement is intended or implied.